20. Apologies, we're going late a few minutes, going live a few minutes late this evening. Lots of things in the works behind the scenes. Before we get to our featured and main guest and only guest of the evening, I want to thank everyone for tuning in week after week. It's been great. I'm going to stall for a second to give this time to, there we go, where people are starting to join in. Hello, good evening. I wanted to mention for anyone who's watching this live or maybe is rewatching this later, that tickets for Fringe Under Glass, which is kind of our alternative programming in lieu of the festival this year, obviously due to the pandemic. It's a really cool program. We're working with a lot of amazing organizations like the Black Scranton Project and Gaslight Theater Company and so many others. Please, 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 if you haven't secured your tickets, there's only like 300 or so available for safety reasons. It's outdoor theater with live performers safely behind storefront glass using, I should have brought the headsets, we just got them, they're amazing. Using silent disco headsets. It's an incredible time. Tickets are so limited. We've already sold a decent amount. They've only been live for 24 hours. Go to scrantonfringe.org/tickets. That's scrantonfringe.org/tickets. Or if you have the Eventbrite app, you can buy them right through the app. Okay, that's my little plug. Any questions on that throughout the evening, please feel free to comment. Without further ado, I'm going to welcome our featured guest, Savannah Drummond. They are the founder and lead organizer of Creating Change for the People, primarily based in Scranton, but with lots of chapters and more being added every few weeks. We are so, so thrilled to have this person as a featured guest. And without further ado, we're going to welcome to the live stream, Savannah. Hi, how are you?
Hi, how's it going?
Doing well, thank you. How's your weekend been?
Pretty productive. We're kind of keeping it busy.
Well, thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. So probably not a silly question, but for those out there who may be from the Fringe audience or are stumbling across this after we go live, because this will stay up, could you talk a little bit about what is Creating Change for the People and how did it get started?
So Creating Change for the People is basically a community organization founded by women and led primarily by women. We are based in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and we do have branches in Bradford County and Honesdale. So Creating Change's main goal is to educate the community and talk about the things that we advocate for. So we have like mental health, LGBTQ+, people of color, women, mental health. I actually accidentally exited out of the page that had all the points I wanted to talk about, but but our main focus is education and talking about intersectionality and how we can utilize our resources with community outreach programs and mutual aid. So that's kind of the biggest thing that we do. We kind of started out doing protests and holding events in the area. Creating Change was Creating Change before we even knew it was Creating Change. Like the very first protest that I held with myself and my partner Miranda, we did on June 5th. It was the first bigger protest that was held in Scranton. We had a few hundred people come out right before June 13th, which everyone is probably familiar with. And we collected information, started reaching out to people through there, heard what everyone wanted to learn about, what people's concerns were. And from there, we've just been constantly working, slapped a name on it, started connecting with people, created workshops, started programs, did donations, drives. So it's just kind of grown from there. And this, like I said, this has kind of been a thing since June 5th. So we're still very new.
That's amazing. There's so much of your work that's encompassing, but at its core, what was your main motivation and inspiration for starting it? You yourself as an individual and a small group of friends could have just, and I shouldn't say couldn't have just, but could very easily and deservedly, been activists and supported a cause, independent. But I mean, forming an entire organization and all the work and all the paperwork and all the logistics that I know goes into that. What spoke to you so strongly that you were like, no, we need to do this?
So interestingly enough, it was just me, and then I met everyone on the way. Before everything that happened and stuff, I'm not a big social person like that. I like to keep to myself. I have my roommate, my cat, I'm good, But I've always been the kind of person I kind of fall under everything, You know, like I struggle with mental illness. I'm a woman of color. I'm queer. I'm alternative. Like everything's kind of against me and who I am. And there's a lot of people who are just like me who fall into all of those categories. So after the murder of George Floyd, it kind of like seeing everything was really inspiring and really encouraging. So, you know, going to protests and going to these events, talking to people, and then organizing one of our own, I kind of got to meet a lot of people. So all the people I work with now, I met through protesting, and I met through these events and these educational things online and stuff. And we were all doing kind of our own thing in our own way. And speaking to each other, we kind of realized, you know, the most effective change we can make is by mobilizing together. I'm really good at the field work. I'm good talking to people, surprisingly, and I know my stuff. Like I know who to talk to, and I'm good at it. And then Eileen, who's the biggest person that I work with, she functions as the secretary for Creating Change. And has been the biggest help with everything, does the online work, does the paperwork type stuff, does the emails and stuff. And I have no idea what I'm doing when it comes to any of that. So we're kind of what each other is missing. So what we're doing with Creating Change, like there's other people who are involved here and there, but the most solid two would be herself and myself, is kind of just making it available to everyone, because we both acknowledge that what we're lacking is community communication and a voice in the community for us to talk to city officials and talk to the police and talk to our court system, talk to whatever, to create this change, to make things happen.
Before we went live, you and I had the opportunity to chat very briefly. And when I asked you about, there's a lot of programming, but I asked you to, if you had to pick one or two for no particular reason, just what was resonating right now. You mentioned branches and the workshops that you've been doing, and I've been seeing that happen in social media, and I've actually been able to virtually attend, even though I physically couldn't be there. And I'm curious to know a little bit more, either one of those or both of those topics, if you could elaborate a little more on.
So as far as the branches, so we have a Bradford County branch and a Honesdale branch. I have a meeting coming up with someone in Williamsport to create one out there. We don't have that meeting yet, but it seems pretty promising. We seem like we're on the same page. We just want to make sure, everyone's standing for the same things if they're going to be working with us, using our resources and using our name. So the Bradford County branch, I actually was like, wasn't raised, but I kind of grew up in like Towanda, that area, if you're familiar, Sayre, Athens and stuff. And they were holding a protest out there. Since that's where my family is, I was like, I may as well go out. Last minute, the organizers canceled. And there were people just, not knowing what to do and stuff. So when I went out there, I just helped them organize. From there, we created a group. We have a Facebook group, and I have a Facebook Messenger app where I talk to people. And since then, like, they've just been organizing out there. Sometimes I have a say, sometimes I don't. But overall, it goes under Creating Change, just because, we went out there and we helped them with what they do so that they have their things there. Same thing with Honesdale, except Honesdale is already holding protests. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that area or anybody watching, but Amanda Damasi, I don't know how to say her last name, I'm sorry. She's been holding protests out there and has been a local activist out there, primarily for environmental justice, for a long time. So when everything started happening, she holds a protest out there every Thursday. I'm not sure if she still has done that. I believe she does. Sometimes it's discussion, sometimes it's protests. The crowd's not always very big, but I reached out to her and we started coordinating together and started working together through Creating Change as well. Because the things she was already doing, like I said, it's more of like a resource and guidance to bring what we have here. Right now, we're working on bringing the workshops over there. And a few of the other things that we're doing here. We want to do a mutual aid drive there too. We're just kind of working out how we're going to go about that. So as far as our workshops go, all August we're holding workshops. Today, actually, we had the Black Maternal Health workshop led by Amber Viola, Scranton City Council member. She's freaking awesome. She was there at NAOG. We all talked and had a chat. It was supposed to be actually behind the Everhart Museum, and then we moved to the Memorial Rose Garden just because it's just really pretty there. But there was only like, our workshops don't get too much attention, which, you know, but I still think it's great that we have them because we do have really good discussions. So this one, I think there's about 5 or 6 people there, but we had a lot of questions, a lot of direct conversation. We shared personal experiences. It's just a way to keep the community together and to educate.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really great. And like you said, like it lives online. We have what we could film of it. We had some rough patches today with our filming, so we couldn't get everything, but what we do have, we put on there. And we're also working on a video series of the things that we are doing in our workshops so that we can continue to teach people online for people who can't go out, whether it's from COVID, not their day off, whatever it is. We actually have, oh, sorry.
No, go right ahead, please.
Oh, we actually have a few more for this month of August. We have one on decolonization on August 19th, anti-racism on the 23rd, local abolitionist history on the 24th, the prison industrial complex on the 30th, and then sometime in the first week of September, we're going to be holding a race class narrative workshop as well.
Very cool. That's a broad but important range of subjects. I just wanted to mention that Amber Viola is actually going to be a guest on this program. I just had to double check August 30th. So Sunday, 7 p.m., August 30th, Amber Viola, the Human Resources Director of the City of Scranton. We're so excited to have her on. And she and I have been talking about, so Amber, if by any chance you happen to be watching this, because I do know you often tune in on Sunday nights. Thank you so much for being a supporter. And I didn't get a chance to watch your workshop from earlier today, but as Savannah mentioned, because it does live on and you can access it via the Creating Change for the People's Facebook page, I'll be making sure. I don't know about you, Savannah. I mean, nothing's going to replace human interactions and events. And I mean, especially from a theater and performing arts industry background, I mean, I crave that connection and I miss that so much. But I've been loving having all of these resources, across a spectrum of subjects available so readily digitally. Like, it's been so cool to, oh, hello, are we there? Yes.
Yeah, we're good.
It's good. I was just saying that it's been so wonderful. While it's never going to replace live events, and I look forward to the day when we can resume those somewhat normally, it's been really awesome to have access to this wide range of conversations and lessons and even just regular entertainment content digitally. And I kind of hope that we don't totally as a society move away from that when things, quote unquote, go back to normal. I wanted to talk a little bit more about, so just to summarize and wrap up, so branches and chapters, that's really awesome and exciting. If someone's out there in a community close but not super close to here, and they think after hearing this conversation, they may want to start a Creating Change branch, how would they go about it? What would be the best way to contact your organization?
Basically through our email address or our Facebook pages, Instagram page. It's all Creating Change FTP. The only thing that's not is our Twitter, which is at Change FTP, which we're not as active on there, but we still try to put some stuff on there as well. But essentially, we'll send you an email talking about Creating Change, our directives, about our branches, what we do here, what our goals are, our key points, and send that to you in an email, and then we'll set up a meeting. And then, based off of how that goes, hearing your ideas, why you want to start a chapter, from there, we'll give you the info and give you the sources to do so.
Fantastic. And the email there for anyone who needs to see it again is right on the screen. Please email creatingchangeftp@gmail.com to discuss starting your own branch or any question and subject you may have that we don't get a chance to address for the rest of the conversation. creatingchangeftp@gmail.com. I will bring that back in a moment. There's so many different topics that open that up to. So we discussed at the workshop, the workshops are continuing. We discussed the branch and the expansion of the organization. You mentioned before we went live, and I know that there's, well, actually, let me backpedal here. Can you talk a little bit about, I've noticed that you've been doing donation drop-off sessions or office hours, shall we say. Can you talk a little bit about what are the items that you are collecting and for what purpose?
So we're holding a mutual aid drive on September 12th. We don't have an established location yet. We're trying to do it in Southside, but we're still waiting to hear back from the people we reached out to. It's actually called a mutual aid marketplace. So what we're doing is the drop-offs around Scranton right now. We're accepting like pretty much everything. The main thing I think that we're lacking at the moment is food. We have like a crap ton of clothes. We have a lot of baby clothes. We have some baby strollers, baby toys, shoes, pretty much anything you can think of we accept. Primarily we are looking for food at the moment, just because we've gotten a lot of clothes donations that we still have to sort through, and we're kind of lacking in the food department a little bit. But we are accepting, as long as it doesn't get moldy or gross, like we'll take it because someone else could use it. So that's essentially what we're doing.
Amber just wanted to mention that says, I still have stuff to donate from Amber Viola. Thank you, Amber.
Yes.
Fantastic. Savannah, if someone like Amber or anyone out there wants to donate, when is the next drop-off?
It's every Wednesday. For people who can't come on Wednesday, it's every Wednesday from 12 to 2:30 p.m. For people who can't, you can email us or message us, and we'll try to coordinate a time. I'm actually supposed to go pick that up from you if you're still here. I just keep forgetting. Yeah.
Eileen also just added, also looking for PPE. Excellent. Masks, cleaning supplies, personal hygiene products, etc. Okay. Thank you, Eileen. That's a good resource to have. I may have some things that I can find. Now, as you mentioned, community, communication within community, there are a lot of nonprofit and human service-based organizations here in Northeast Pennsylvania. What are a few that you either partnered with or you're starting to have conversations with partnering?
I think partnering with, it hasn't been too many. Like when we had our LGBTQ plus for All Black Lives event, Scranton Fringe came out to support. We had, I believe it's Second Banana Co. The sticker company came out to support. Amanda works for a environmental group in Honesdale. I honestly can't think of the name at the moment, but they also came out and set up a table to talk about their stuff. I don't think, off the top of my head, but I also have a really crap memory. I don't think we've really collabed too much. I'm also part of the executive board of the NAACP Lackawanna County chapter that they're trying to start in the area. Like I said, I'm part of the executive board, so I've been doing a lot of work with them. We're not officiated yet. So we haven't held any events together, but Creating Change, like a lot of the community work we do, I also give over there. So Eileen said, shout out to United Neighborhood Centers for clothing donations. That's awesome. I didn't know about that till now, so thank you for that. But also, so I guess that's one.
Yeah, you mentioned before that you are going to be working on a program with Queer NEPA and Persist.
Oh, yeah. That's an event. I was thinking more like protest and things like that for some reason. But we do have a Netflix party going on with Queer NEPA and Persist NEPA. They're going to be showing Disclosure: Trans Lives on Screen documentary on August 22nd. I don't really know the ins and outs of like the setup on that because I've never actually used Netflix Party before or done that before. But yeah, we're going to be hosting that with those two groups.
Cool. And just a reminder to everyone, if you have any questions or you want further clarification, just drop an email, super easy, to creatingchangeftp@gmail.com. That's creatingchangeftp@gmail.com. Now, I've been asking everyone that's been coming on and chatting with us, how has obviously you've been incredibly busy. I think we need to re-highlight that this, I think we didn't talk about this live, that, this technically just really began forming in early June of this summer. We should be talking that this is not something that's been a year or 2 or 3 years in the making. So it's an incredible amount of work to do in such a short period of time, which is a credit to you and your team. Let's talk a little bit about so aside from this, and obviously it's a big part of it, what has your COVID pandemic life been like? What has been particularly challenging? What have you found some solace and contentment within? I'm curious to know what your specific experience has been like these past few months.
So COVID has actually probably been one of the best things that ever happened to me. To be honest,
Mm-hmm.
um, I suffer. Well, I don't want to say suffer because I don't feel like that's something you should feel bad for. I have bipolar and PTSD, and I don't take medication, and I don't go to therapy. I probably should. I just don't connect with a lot of people, so I'm really picky with who I pay to listen to me. But yeah, it's probably I've probably had like I'm literally forced to be alone with myself
Mm-hmm.
and my thoughts, how I feel about things. It was particularly like traumatic in the beginning just because, you know, you have a routine. Like I had a full-time job, I was a bartender, so I was like had my routine like, oh, I work these 4 days, I'm off these 3 days, I get all these chores done, I go back to work. Like it was, you know, so it was a really nice break. I actually feel like that break is what made it so that I'm able to do what I'm doing now. Not even just for free time, but to see that this maybe sounds bad, but there are issues outside of my own.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually had time to focus on those, get educated enough to be able to take the steps that I'm taking now with the people I'm making these steps with now. I've had time to socialize. Like I said before, like I didn't talk to people before. I didn't really have friends like that. Now I'm making connections, making communication, um, and you know, like so I know a lot of people like probably had like a lot of negative experiences, but it's actually COVID's actually been really helpful for me. I've actually done a lot, started a lot, and discovered a lot about myself as well. So
Interesting.
yeah.
That's interesting. You've mentioned a few times, both personally and the work that Creating Change for the People does about mental health. Can you talk to me a little bit more about why you place such a heavy priority on it, and what kind of mental health conversations do you want to see happening, whether at an individual or community level?
So as far as creating change goes with mental health, we haven't made too many moves in that direction yet. I think it's mainly because we don't really know how we want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
My biggest thing is just self-awareness is key when
Mm-hmm.
it comes to mental health. Like I said, like I've I got diagnosed with bipolar about 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it's honestly been a huge struggle to like deal with and accept. But as far as mental health goes, I think it's really important. Like even if you aren't diagnosed with something, or even if you don't know, quote unquote, like what's wrong with you,
Mm-hmm.
what people say is wrong with you and stuff, everything you feel is valid, whether it's a mental illness or not. Um, you're having that emotion, you're having that experience, and it's so important to recognize it, hold on to that, analyze it the best you can to the best of your ability. You know, some people can't do it on their own. Some people need outside help, but that's what therapy's for, is what friends are
Mm-hmm.
for. And, you know, accept that and try to move forward. Like everything I said, everything I've done with my mental health has been myself. I didn't have insurance for therapy. You know what I mean? Like I couldn't afford a therapist, still can't afford a therapist now, which is part of the reason why I don't have one. And not everyone likes medication. And, you know, it's kind of just finding what works for you. Like I said, I can only talk about my personal journey and what I've dealt with personally, like bipolar and PTSD.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, there's a lot of different options besides just the things that everyone tells you to do or pushes on you. You kind of just have to accept it and take it as it comes. Once you start being self-aware of these things, though, it gets like 100 times easier. You just have to be honest with yourself when it comes to that stuff, and that's probably the best thing I can say about like, you know, everything.
Yeah. No, that's a lot. Thank you for sharing that. I wanted to mention, to make sure, just to remind everyone, if you're watching this right now live on Sunday, August 16th at 7:31 p.m., if you're watching this live and you want to comment, whether it's a question about anything we've discussed tonight, from Fringe to Creating Change to anything Savannah has talked about personally, or if you just have a personal reflection you want to offer, even if it's not a question, please comment, and we would love to hear from you and join the dialogue. I want to talk very briefly about something, just because, and to clarify for everyone out there, this is something we already, Savannah and I approved before we went live. Whenever we go live with a guest, those of you who may notice, to be fair, I don't want to say we've done it. I think we've done it since the first week, if not since the second week of doing this. in an attempt to be more inclusive and just, get that little 1% better each time. We have our guests add their pronouns. You may have noticed that for me, he, him, his is always after my name, and our guests typically always do the same. So Savannah, tonight when you came on to privately chat before we went live, you mentioned something interesting, that they, them are not the only pronouns that you are comfortable with, but it sometimes varies. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I actually don't, I feel like I'm very new to like community and stuff. So, but I don't identify as like anything really, just because I do feel like, I, I do present myself more feminine a lot of the time, just because that's kind of what comes naturally to me. But I am very androgynous, like kind of with my, with just like my, who I am as a person, and even with the way I dress and stuff. Sometimes I don't really, like, I know masculine and feminine is a thing, but at the same time, I don't really like to put like labels on myself, because I feel, I've noticed it limits who I am. Labels are important because they help people like, like figure themselves out or like guide them and stuff. But for myself, it kind of just makes it really difficult. So, like I put they, them on here because I don't really have a preference, but I have with some people, like the energy and stuff I give off, or the way I am with certain people, I feel like I'm a bit more masculine, which is why I allow, like, whether they want to call me that or whatever, he, him, or, but I do present myself more feminine, and I was born a female. I do have my original like things, and I do identify as that as well. So I just don't like to limit things, because I feel like there's so many options and there's so many ways to be, and putting those labels on myself, like personally, just kind of make it harder for me to navigate through life, I feel like. So by just, being who I am and just like being like as I am, I just find it a lot easier.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. I appreciate that, and I agree. I mean, I think something you said in particular was really interesting, that we have such a, and I say we, I mean we as a community, society right now, we have such a mixed dynamic with labels, because as you mentioned, labels and words do have power and they do have, meaning, but then at the same time, we equally acknowledge that it's a construct and it's all, neither here nor there. So I think that's a very interesting perspective. We have a comment here from Jess Mione. Jess said, I just want to commend Savannah and starting her just want to commend Savannah on starting her organization. She's making great change in our community already, and I'm so stoked for her to be a speaker for TEDx Scranton Women this fall. Jess, not lying to you. I'm gonna pull up my notes right now. TEDx right there. It was the next thing on my topic. But thank you, Jess, for commenting, and thank you for watching. I don't think we've had you officially on the show, Jess, on Scranton Fringe Dialogue. I know you and I have done other stuff, of course. I've known Jess for many, many moons. But we'd love to have you on, especially as we get closer to TEDx Women Scranton. So let's use that opportunity as a segue. Let's talk about TEDx. That's going to be in late November, and you are going to be a speaker. Do you know a little bit about, without revealing too much, what you're going to be discussing and what you're excited about TEDx?
Yeah, I'm really excited. I honestly had no idea what it was until like a week before I applied to it. I actually had a lot of people telling me I should apply, which is why I did so. To be honest, like I literally had no idea what it was until like a week or two before. But I'm really glad I did, because the girls that are going to be presenting with me and having talks as well are really awesome. The things they want to talk about seem really cool. And to be a part of something like this and having this chance and opportunity to talk about like what I want to talk about is great. So actually, originally what I was gonna talk about was like a spin on kind of like race class, my view and my experience with that in Scranton. And like the way I grew up. But so for this process, like as it goes on, I kind of started to realize I might even change that a little bit, which I did get like permission from. If I really wanted to, I can change. I didn't go to college. I don't plan to go to college, and I'm not like, not that that's like a bad thing or a great thing, whatever you want to do, that's what you want to do. Good for you. But I've always thought that I couldn't do anything or be successful if I wasn't educated by paying, the government to educate me. And that's just not the case, and it's not true. And what I'm doing now and everything I'm involved in is proof of that. So bouncing between that and basically what I just mentioned, as far as like TED Talks go for November, obviously, like I said, the topic and the main point changes a lot from here to there, but that is what I applied with, and that is currently what I'm working on, that subject.
Very cool. Very cool. We have another comment from Eileen. I'm just going to pull it up on the screen very quickly. Savannah, can you please talk about bringing a citizens review board to Scranton? To everyone watching, we need people to join up with us and lead the initiative for transparency and accountability in our community. The budget and police contracts are being negotiated as we speak. So, so creating a citizens review board in Scranton, is that a major goal of creating change to see happen in the community? And can you talk a little bit about what that looks like, what that means for those who maybe don't know?
So that is something that we would like to work on. We did have a meeting with Chief Graziano and Mayor Cognetti about like various things. We did mention, because around the same time that we had this meeting, Wilkes-Barre came out with their police advisory board. Not great. And
can you elaborate what's the difference between the citizen review board and police advisory board? Those sound similar, but from what I'm gathering, they're not the same.
So it's more so just how they went about it. So there was a councilwoman out there who was presenting a citizens review board write-up. Now, citizens review boards can get really tricky because there's a lot of different ways to do them. And a lot of times, a lot of places that have done them, they're not really successful, or they're very like stagnant in what they do. So essentially, like a citizens review board is ran by the people. It's separate from our city's government, and they watch watch over the police, sort of. They know policy, call them out if they're doing something the wrong way or incorrectly. Basically make sure the police are following the rules so that the community is safe and the community's needs and the people are put first before the police and their needs. Yeah.
Balance. Okay, sure.
Yeah. So they essentially just like they're community members who talk for the community because they're a part of the community. I can go into more detail, but that's the gist. And then for Wilkes-Barre, the police advisory board that they put out, I'm not going to lie to you, I have not looked into it since around the time that it was like came out with the controversy and stuff. So I'm not sure where they are with that. I know they're pushing it through right away, but essentially it was a board made up, I believe, by like 7 or 8 community members chosen by the mayor and the police chief, led by the mayor and the police chief. So like it kind of defeats the purpose. I think it was supposed to be like his take on a citizens review board. Obviously not at all. Like I don't know his true intentions, so I'm not going to like shame him, but not at all what we're talking about when we say citizens review board. So that's something we don't want to do here. We don't want here. And we made that very clear in this meeting that we had with Mayor Cognetti and the chief of police. And they're very receptive and stuff. Now, where we go with that, I'm not 100% sure. There's a lot of meetings that have to be had. We want to hear more from the people, the community, about what they want to do on that, because Creating Change can have a say, but then it would be myself and the people I work with who are making the decisions for everybody else. And that's not what we want to do. Right. So, they are, like Eileen said, they are talking about budget and police contracts and things right now and negotiating. I'm unsure if they're going to be broadcasting that stuff or having us in on the conversation on that, just because normally it doesn't include us. There isn't normally that transparency there. So we're trying to work with them to make it more open so that we can have the conversation with people and show that, like I said, I've spoke with Mayor Cognetti a few times, and we have an open line to chat with the Chief Graziano. So we want to keep those lines open and show that, we are trying to speak for the people and they are here to listen to us. Now, how much they can actually do in their position or how soon, we don't know. But we want to show that there is that line of communication happening.
We have a question from Jessica Boyles. Jessica says, Savannah, hey girl, how would a citizens review board have teeth, meaning actual power and influence? So Jessica just wants to know, and as you mentioned, you may not have that clear answer, but what kind of or maybe you can cite other examples in other communities that have worked, if there is any, about what kind of actual power and influence and consequence does a citizens review board have when done properly?
So its majority would be like my opinion right now that I'm speaking from. I'm not really speaking from facts or anything so take what I say as just like what I say, you know? But for myself, like I feel like it would have to be people voted in as far as who's on the review board. So a lot of places that do the review board are people who are hired, which is a big part of the issue, is because they still have that tie in with the city, which still has the city, you know, has like a power control over it to an extent. So it's more just trying to find out how to divide that to be able to make it its own separate entity without having any influence from the city itself. So for myself, when it comes to having power and influence, it would have to be like a group of people who are educated on policy. They know how the city runs. They know what they're there for. It's no connection with the city at all, no personal ties, no whatever. And they'd have to be chosen by community members, whether it be like, you know, votes from people who do a lot within the community itself already, like whether, you know, someone who's, you know, popular among the people, like, oh, they pick up trash on the side of the road all the time. We all know who that guy is. Or, oh, it's that lady who tends to the garden. Like, you know, something like that. It would have to be something that people who are active community members choose. That's who would have to make it up. And that's kind of where the main issue is coming with the Citizens Review Board, is how do we decide who's a part of it?
Gotcha. Okay. That's a lot, and that's very interesting. I'm going to remind everyone just one more time, that at least one more time, that if you want to be involved more detailed in this conversation, again, please reach out to Creating Change for the People at creatingchangeftp@gmail.com. That's creatingchangeftp@gmail.com. I'm going to give everyone kind of one last chance. If you haven't commented yet, we're coming up on 40 minutes, which is fine. We have plenty of time, but that tends to be when we wind down the evening a little bit. I just want to remind everyone one more time, please, if you have any other questions, I'll throw it up. Just let's do it. creatingchangeftp@gmail.com. You can also find them on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. creatingchangeftp@gmail.com. I also wanted to mention, just for my own personal sake of the organization, if you are watching this and you are from an organization or a community group, whether in Northeast Pennsylvania or beyond, our audience and our network we're very grateful, extends globally. Apologies, I'm having a problem talking this evening. We would very much love to have you on the show. Please drop us an email at info@scrantonfringe.org or message Scranton Fringe at Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you are in such a position, I know there's a lot of causes, Creating Change being one of them, and many others that we've featured over the last few months on this show, and hopefully raise some money. If you are in a position to throw a few bucks our way this evening, you can do so via Venmo at Scranton Fringe, Venmo at Scranton Fringe, or PayPal at scrantonfringe@gmail.com, or just go to our website, scrantonfringe.org. No pressure, but if we are going to keep this program going and be able to use this as a platform for censor-free expression and discussion, we can't do it without your support. So thank you, thank you, thank you. We have a comment from Michael Sorrentino. Thank you for the discussion/share. Thank you, Michael. We appreciate that. Thanks for joining in.
Thanks for joining.
Oh, goodness gracious. Savannah, I try to, not to trivialize anything we've discussed, but I try to give everyone an opportunity to discuss something a little less heavy whenever we have these conversations, if appropriate. What have you been doing right now that isn't work related? Are you reading anything, watching anything, trying to sleep more, going and knocking down trees in the middle of the night? Whatever floats your boat. Legally, whatever floats.
Honestly, like my life kind of revolves around this now. And it's something I enjoy. Like, I do like doing it a lot. So, I mean, besides like the work I'm doing here, honestly, like nothing too crazy. Right now, I'm trying to really kind of get together the video series for our page. Like I said before, we kind of want to bring the workshops online. So I'm kind of trying to find a way to talk about that. I've done some like filming of some of that. Hate most of it, but got to get past it so we can get that information out there.
Right.
But yeah, I'm just kind of trying to stay educated. Like I said, like the George Floyd murder, and especially with COVID and all this, I've literally just been consumed by media. So I feel like I'm being forced to educate myself. So that's what I've been spending COVID doing, is just, that is my hobby now, and that is my life now, is just educating myself. And actually, I do have a hobby. I work on music sometimes, and I write a little bit.
Can you tell us a little bit about it?
I don't put my music on the internet. I do it for myself. So don't keep a lookout for that, because you won't find it. And I
find it, everybody. Find it.
Yeah. And I like to write short stories and songs and poems and stuff. So
without going into specifics, because like you said, I know you said it's just for yourself. What kind of genre do you like to write when you write short stories? You said,
I guess it literally just goes based on how I feel. Something I've been working on a lot lately is kind of, it's not really about my life, but the main character is very similar to myself. It's actually been helping me cope a lot with my bipolar. I've kind of been writing a story following a character that deals with the same mental illness I have. So like it just kind of goes into depth with like the struggles on it, and how the mind bounces around from topic to topic, and the feelings and the emotions. Again, like a lot of it's like personal, like you won't be able to find it, but it's kind of like the story. I wouldn't say a short story. It's probably more of like a novel at this point that I'm working on. Is currently is it's kind of like an interesting like journal. It's a set of like entries and stuff. It's pretty cool, I think.
And we're never going to see it?
Yeah, I mean, maybe if I ever finish it, but I tend to just write and write and write and like not know when to stop. So
that's wonderful. Well, I'm glad you're having a creative outlet throughout all this. I think, we here at Scranton Fringe, we're art centered. If anyone's out there watching this right now and you want to comment, I'd love to know, is anyone else experimenting with a new creative outlet or medium? I'll just say personally, I've been a professional writer and actor for several years now, but personally, I've also been really getting into sketching, and it's very much the same thing that no one will ever see it. And it's it began literally with like those adult coloring books with colored pencil, and now I've graduated to free forming it on my own paper and just learning to when I have the time. But it's been really interesting to try a different creative outlet that has nothing to do with my work, that's never going to earn me a dime, and is never going to in any way further my career. But it's been wonderful, and it's late. So if anyone's out there, I would love to know, even if you are a professional artist as well, but you've been experimenting with something else, I'd love to hear. I think like you said, this COVID, in whatever your career, whatever your focus and passions are, I definitely think most everyone I've talked to has learned something, is taking advantage of this time to hone some skill. And hopefully everyone that's listening to this has also been incorporating, expanding your worldview for the situation that others have been facing for a very long time, and devoting some of your time, if not most of your time, to anti-racist work and research and education. There's so much more we could talk about, but I don't want to take up too much time. If anyone's out there, this is last call for comments or questions for Savannah. Again, I'm going to remind everyone, you can just email creatingchangeftp@gmail.com, creatingchangeftp@gmail.com. I'm very grateful for your time and attention. Oh, here we go. From a Heather Patricia. Patricia, I've been learning pole dancing for fun and fitness. That's awesome, Heather. That's super cool. Have you been doing that?
Sick.
Do you know Heather?
Yeah, Heather Rhodes, actually. She's actually the one I work with the most on the NAACP Lackawanna County chapter that we're trying to start.
Oh, Heather, I think we met at the Creating Change LGBT Black Lives Matter protest back in June. If I'm correct, Heather, it's so nice to reconnect with you. Thank you for joining us tonight. Heather, have you been doing that at home? I'm assuming at home, or is there a studio that's offering safe classes right now? I can't imagine that's an easy thing to learn in group right now, but that's fantastic. Eileen commented, "Wow, yes," to Heather's comment, and Heather commented, "Yes." Okay. There's like a whole conversation happening. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Heather. Thank you so much. Thank you for watching. I encourage everyone, if you're watching this right now, when we stop going live, please share the video anyway. Maybe someone will enjoy this conversation after the fact. Studio in 44, Taboo Fitness. Fitness. And Amber commented, "That's a great core workout." Yes, it is. I love this conversation. We could go an entire episode just to this. Yes.
Do you mind, really quick, there's actually something kind of, maybe it's a little random, but also not really. I'm really big on like being your own like person, like business type stuff. Something I forgot to mention when you were talking about, I actually just got my business license, and yeah, like, so I can start selling things under like my business name and all that jazz. Something with COVID right now, I've been trying to focus more on that. This is very recent just because I've been doing so much of creating change, but for anyone who is watching, and if you do have like a new skill you found out you like, or you want to like get into something, right now is the time to anything that you've been wanting to get into to start. I highly recommend just like going for it, whether it's an online business or doing something at a storefront. I just wanted to mention this because this is something else that we talk a lot about, a lot more with the NAACP stuff than we do at Creating Change. But we don't have enough like Black-owned businesses around here, in my opinion, especially like women-owned businesses. But even if you're not a woman or a person of color, like, still go do your thing and like start your business. I just wanted to like mention that really quick because with COVID, like, we all have so much time to invest into things like this. And it literally, like, you can just do it at your home for free. Right. So I just wanted to throw that in there because I know a lot of people are feeling trapped or feeling weird with money right now, or especially with the unemployment extra 600 that just stopped. So like, whether it's like old clothes, art projects, something you drew, something you made, like, I highly recommend trying that out and selling things online to help you get that extra coin and, you know, get started and stuff. I just wanted to say that.
Thank you. That's a great conversation. I also wanted to mention, in case anyone out there is, I live in ATV Central in Scranton at the time. For now, if anyone's out there and you are not familiar with, please go to blackscrantonproject.org. I specifically mean go there anyway, but specifically because they have a wonderful, I'll put it on the screen, they have a wonderful Black-owned business directory for Northeast Pennsylvania. Go to blackscranton.org. If you know the Black-owned business in Northeast Pennsylvania that's not on their directory, please contact them, and I'm sure they would love to add that to their listing. And please support your Black-owned local businesses wherever you may find this video. We are nearly out of time. I want to thank Savannah so much for your time and attention. I want to thank everyone for a lively comment section this evening. Please join us April, my goodness. Please join us August 30th, where Amber Viola will be our featured guest. We will have other episodes between now and then. I'm just not ready to announce who the guest is yet. We'll do so in the next few days. Oh, hello.
What is going on over there?
I don't know. There's a party going on. I wasn't invited. The hill section of Scranton is, I'll just real quick. I moved back to the area. I've been helping run Scranton Fringe since we began it 5 years ago, but I've predominantly been living in West Harlem for the last couple of years for my own career in New York, and I just moved back this spring due to the pandemic, take time off, and I love being back in Scranton full time, and I definitely have missed it. I was here a lot, but not fully as immersed as I had been in the past, and I will just tell you, somewhere between 2017 and now, Scranton discovered ATVs, and they've just, I don't know if someone opened a dealership, maybe someone took your advice already and started that business. Yeah. I support any creative passion. I don't support that. Because there are 3-year-old infants riding around on ATVs, like corralling horses.
Crazy.
It's insane. I'm serious. I don't know what it is, but like the Avenue Bridge and the hill section of Scranton, it is just ATV Central. Anyway, so unless you have something to comment on that, I also wanted to mention that if you are able to and you're in a position to, Scranton Fringe always appreciates your donations and support. You can do so via PayPal or Venmo, at Scranton Fringe via Venmo. That's at Scranton Fringe on Venmo, or go to scrantonfringe.org and you can donate directly through our website. Also, be sure to check out scrantonfringe.org/tickets for Fringe Under Glass. Definitely look that up. We hope to see as many of you there as possible. Again, I cannot stress enough that event is going to sell out without question. And once it does, this is not that kind of situation where, we can maybe pull some strings. We have to keep people safe, and we have to keep people distant, even during this outdoor live theater event downtown Scranton this fall. Okay, and one more time, just to wrap up, If you have any questions or we've grazed over anything or you want to get involved in creating change for the people, just email them at creatingchangeftp@gmail.com. That's creatingchangeftp@gmail.com. Savannah, I want to thank you again so much for being here tonight. I want to thank everyone for supporting this week after week. We'll see you next Sunday, and have a good night.
Yeah, thanks for having me.